What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, what moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went down 1.45%. Overall, today was a very messed up day, especially in SoFi's case. 23.36 the high, 21.02 the low. So first thing, there was a lot of optimism. So it did have a high of around 5.3% in the green. But as you can kind of see, it was very short-lived. So in SoFi's case, the market was digesting some recent analyst ratings. So we'll go over that later in the video. Plus, the market right now is placing a lot of importance on earnings. And luckily enough, we did have Palantir hit a home run after hours yesterday. So there was pretty much that understanding that tech and AI was kind of going to move higher. Unfortunately, in SoFi's case, we also did have PayPal really crap the bed. And I think some of that was trickling down into other fintechs, although PayPal has been kind of a crappy stock for an extremely long time. But nonetheless, this optimism was rather short-lived. It lasted a good roughly about 30 minutes exactly, and then it just started to get dragged down. One thing did kind of come out that helped a little bit, and that was this right here. And that was pretty much just a potential end of the shutdown. It's kind of funny how all these things are coming out acting like that's the crazy catalyst that's going to save the broader market. In my opinion, it's not. Might be unpopular opinion, of course. I guess technically if we didn't have the shutdown, we would have had some pretty solid data. So Jolt numbers were supposed to come out today, but because of the whole shutdown, they were paused. And I think in Jolt numbers, like if they were to come in stagnant, if not a little bit worse, or would have, then the market could have really moved higher. But still, again, the market's really paying attention to earnings. And after hours today, we do have AMD and many others. But from what I can see right now, it looks like AMD kind of crapped the bed a little bit, so down 7.68%. So it is fair to assume that tomorrow is going to be another interesting day for tech and AI. And I'm saying that nicely, interesting, meaning it might be a little bit more of a red day. But nonetheless, there was one thing that kind of came out associated to SoFi. No official news though, so no press releases, no SEC filings, but you did have ICE trades just kind of putting it out there about SoFi buying PayPal. Even though technically, I don't think that's on the table. But you did have Anthony actually say that this would never happen as long as he has a say. So pretty good stuff as far as that. So it's kind of funny, nobody wants to do anything to do with PayPal, and it's rather comical. A lot of the finfluencers that have been pumping it for a while on kind of social media have gone very, very silent. Normally, if you're committed to a stock, you say buy the dip and whatever else. But PayPal has been absolutely horrific, as you can kind of see. So over the last 1 year, down 53.41%. So this is pretty much a good dagger to end their life for the most part, or at least knock it down probably another little bit. But nonetheless, when it comes down to SoFi, we did get some new analyst ratings. One from 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, $38 buy, Dan, who has a 50% success rating, then also JPM, $31 buy, Reginald, who has a 54% success rating. So JPM has been rather bullish on SoFi for quite some time, so that's kind of a good thing. They recently did increase their position. And plus, unofficially, they did buy a lot of SoFi's mortgages. So clearly there might be something in the works, logically. But as a consensus, 26.05 is that price target, representing a 19.72% upside from these levels. But aside from that though, I still do estimate that there's going to be about another 3 or 4 more ratings that do come out. And just on how a lot of the bears kind of think, I wouldn't be surprised if they wait up until the market actually starts to recover, and then they give their negative rating. So we do have Compass Point, KBW, Bank of America gave one already post earnings, so they probably won't reiterate their rating. So we have KBW and Compass Point for the most part. So interesting stuff might be in the future. Aside from that, shorts did return 501,000 shares. So definitely a good thing in my opinion, because they could easily double down. I know I mentioned this time and time again, but shorts are kind of still sticking back, and they're not really doubling down because they're probably equally as unsure about what is happening in the broader market as you or I. So there's a hell of a lot of things all influencing SoFi and just, again, the broader market. One thing that was rather odd to see, though, first thing was right over here. So we did have silver go up. So at the peak, it was up like 11-12%, and then similarly gold. So I don't know if those banks are still shorting silver. If so, they probably got liquidated over the last couple of days right there. But still, nonetheless, shorts returning is always a positive. You still do technically see two signs of manipulation. So you have cost to borrow minimum still negative, and there being more shares being shorted than on loan. So still a naked shorting type of scenario. Looking at the options, we had 39 million in calls, 34 in puts. 42% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. Most of that, though, was done in the first half of the day, as well as right here when there was 6.3 million in premiums between 11.50 and 11.55. Aside from all of that, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be around 24. So for whatever reason, bulls are kind of sticking to being bullish. Obviously, I know that kind of sounds dumb, but from a bear standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be sub 20. And based on the technicals, things don't look that great. So I think maybe the bears are kind of hedging that more downside is going to come through that. On the secondary market, you did see somewhat mixed. So some buying, some selling. So anything with a ask is a buy, anything with a bid is a sell. Some big ones that did occur: 84.8 million, 16.2, 16.2. One sell right here, 15.3 million. So big money was very active with SoFi. On the dark pool, big ones for that was 8.2 million, 3.5, 3.2, 2.9. So similarly, shorts as well as hedge funds were fairly active on the dark pool as well. With it closing at 21.76, it is trading between this S1 and this S2. So 21.31 and 22.28 is going to be the next strong support and target. And like I said, anticipate a bloodbath. I wouldn't say bloodbath, but anticipate red tomorrow because of good old AMD. So 21.31 potentially could be touched. So again, just kind of watch for that. And if that does fail to hold, then 19.75 is going to be the following support level. Aside from all of that, quickly popping back over here on the chart itself, not great. Of course, as you can kind of see, it recently did break below the 200-day moving average. And in fact, today is the second consecutive day of it below the 200-day moving average. So very similar to what happened in April of 2025. So I don't know if that's going to happen again. Just to put it in perspective, we went from around $11 down to $8. So shaved off 35-40-ish%. So potentially we might have a little bit of a similar scenario as this. So again, just to put it in perspective, we could be seeing the mid-teens or something along those lines. But of course, anything is possible. If the market seems very fixated on just the whole shutdown, if that comes to a conclusion, maybe that might be what the market does need to really move higher. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi, and if you are kind of buying the dip, if you're selling. As I mentioned, I did have some options, some puts that I did sell that did and were exercised last week. So I did buy some stock, I guess. But aside from that, I'm just kind of watching and waiting. I already do have a fair amount of puts. It's kind of staggered, 19, 15, 20. So those are some of the strike prices I do believe I have. So let me know your thoughts and if you're buying this dip or if you're kind of tapped out. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.